How many of you remember the 1997 NBA Draft? After one of their worst ever seasons, San Antonio Spurs came into the drafts following a campaign that seemed beyond repair. That's when they got the first pick and brought in Tim Duncan. And the rest, as they say, is history. Tim Duncan had an instant impact like no other rookie before, and within 2 seasons, he had led San Antonio Spurs to their first ever NBA title. Fast forward to 26 years later, and the Spurs are on the verge of repeating history. But this time, their top pick has expectations that exceed all previous norms. We are talking about the 7'3" French giant Victor Wembanyama. As the draft day closes, the hype around Wembanyama is growing exponentially. Experts and analysts claim he's the greatest prospect in the sport's history. The franchise that gets him will supposedly hit the basketball jackpot. But how good can one prospect be? Fans are already talking about future championships for Spurs, as they are the most likely to take him home. But turning potential greatness into real greatness and championships is a task that very few players have ever been capable of. Victor Wembanyama hasn't even been drafted yet. But what are we doing to this kid what we have done to many others before him? Unexpected hype, and expectations often only lead to inevitable disappointment. Remember a few years ago when high school revelation Zion Williamson was regarded as the greatest basketball prospect of the decade? And yet 4 years later, he has just played 29 games throughout 2 seasons. Great player, no doubt, but far from the franchise-altering player he was hyped up to be. Every few years, people find a name to hype up, only to forget them after a while and move on to the supposed next big thing. It's almost only once or twice in a generation that a team is lucky enough to draft a player who becomes an NBA all-time great, stays healthy, and stays loyal to the franchise that drafted him. And even if the player performs at his very best, the NBA title isn't guaranteed. Luka Doncic has been a phenomenon ever since he arrived at the NBA, and even after 5 seasons at the NBA, he is yet to reach the finals. Despite all this, to expect a rookie to turn around everything from a franchise is almost cruel. In the last 25 years, Tim Duncan is the only player credited with instant impact, winning the championship in his 2nd season. Even Brom and KD couldn't do it. Steph and MJ took years to pull it off. And yet, we don't just want, but we expect a 19-year-old to walk into the toughest basketball league in the world and take home a ring. Many fans don't realize the pressure they are putting on Wembanyama. Maybe all the hype is true, and maybe he is indeed generational, but to expect this level of excellence from him is still far too much. Out of all the 25 best draft picks of recent years, it's been more misses than hits. But somehow, our countless misses are outweighed by 1 or 2 we got right. Make no mistake, maybe this kid is really that good. Maybe he is that era-defining player who enters the NBA and transforms a franchise into a dynasty. But what if he is not? Can we still sit back and watch all his moves? Will he be better than 90% of the remaining players and still be called a flop? Leave your thoughts in the comments.